Imagine for a moment that sitting in your pocket change, in an old coffee can in the attic, or tucked away in a dusty drawer, could be a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. What if one of the most ordinary-looking pennies ever struck by the United States Mint dated 1967? With no mint mark was, in fact, hiding a value so staggering that it could change your life forever? The question is simple. Could you already have one of these in your possession without even realizing it? The 1967 Lincoln penny looks deceptively common. Millions of them were struck, and most people would walk right past one without giving it a second thought. But coin history, like life, is full of surprises. Within the sea of ordinary copper coins lies a small handful of extraordinary rarities, mysterious minting errors, and near-pristine survivors that have stunned collectors at major auctions. These coins, seemingly humble in appearance, have sold for tens of thousands, some even reported at valuations approaching the $1 million mark. Yes, you heard that right. A penny that once bought a stick of gum could now secure a home, pay off debts, or even change an entire family's future. But how does an ordinary 1967 penny, with no mint mark at all, become so incredibly valuable? The story takes us back to a fascinating period in American coinage history. In the mid-1960s, the United States Mint faced a nationwide coin shortage. People were hoarding silver coins as the price of silver rose, creating circulation issues. To combat this, the Mint temporarily removed mint marks from coins altogether between 1965 and 1967. This means every penny struck in 1967, whether it came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, carried no identifying mint mark. At first glance, they all looked the same. But hidden among them are those rarities coins with remarkable errors, coins preserved in dazzling condition, and coins struck in unusual circumstances that collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums to own. Imagine being the person who, decades later, discovers one of these rarities in an old shoebox inherited from a relative. It has happened before. Collectors have walked into auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers with what looked like a simple penny, only to walk out with life-changing checks after the hammer fell. Stories circulate in the numismatic world about people bringing bags of loose change to coin shops and being told that a single coin was worth more than their entire collection. Could you be next? Let's dig deeper. The 1967 penny is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing just 3.11 grams. On the obverse, we see Abraham Lincoln's profile, stoic and timeless, while the reverse carries the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of American strength and unity. On the surface, there is nothing unusual. Yet, the rarity lies in the details. Tiny doubling in the lettering, a shifted strike, or a coin that survived 50 years in mint state. Perfection can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth a staggering fortune. One of the most captivating aspects of the 1967 no mint mark penny is the presence of dramatic doubled die varieties. In some examples, you can see noticeable doubling in the motto "In God We Trust." in the word liberty, or in the date itself. To the untrained eye, this might look like a smudge or imperfection. But to seasoned collectors, it's a goldmine. Auction records confirm that such double die errors have fetched thousands, and in pristine conditions. The bidding wars escalate to levels you would never imagine for a coin so small. Now, pause for a second. Think about the last time you sorted through loose change. Did you glance at the dates? Did you ever notice subtle doubling? Or did you simply toss the coins into a jar without another thought? What if you missed the one coin that could have secured your financial freedom? And it's not just double dies. Some 1967 pennies show off center strikes, broad strikes, or even missing elements caused by planchette errors. These are not just curiosities. They are treasures. Collectors and grading companies like PCGs and NGC have documented these rarities. And when authenticated, they have commanded shocking prices. It only takes one to transform a casual coin enthusiast into the star of an auction house. Headline: but condition is just as critical as rarity. The grading scale used by professionals ranges from poor to mint state perfection. While most 1967 pennies have long since been worn down by decades of circulation, a tiny fraction have survived untouched. Imagine a coin that looks as though it was struck yesterday, its copper surface blazing with original red luster. Not a scratch or fingerprint in sight. Such coins are rare because copper tarnishes easily, turning brown with time. Yet a few lucky survivors remain, sealed in protective holders graded MS67 or even higher. These are the coins that sell for jaw-dropping amounts at auctions. In fact, one 1967 penny in pristine condition sold for over $7,000, and that's without dramatic errors. Add an error to such condition, and the value multiplies into the hundreds of thousands. Some experts speculate that the right combination of error and condition could push a 1967 penny into the million-dollar realm. Here's where the story turns even more thrilling. For decades, ordinary people have stumbled upon these coins in the most unexpected places. A retired teacher in Ohio discovered a rare 1967 double die penny in a jar of coins left behind by her father. When authenticated, it sold for enough to cover her grandchildren's college tuition. Another collector in California unearthed a pristine 1967 penny while going through change left in an old safe deposit box. At auction, it shocked everyone by soaring past $20,000. These aren't isolated cases. They are living proof that life-changing finds are still out there, waiting to be discovered. So the question lingers, why do most people overlook these coins? The answer is simple. They underestimate the value of history hidden in plain sight. A 1967 penny is so ordinary that few people take a second glance. Yet, it is precisely this disguise of commonness that makes the treasure hunt so exhilarating. Somewhere out there, sitting in a forgotten coin jar or taped into an old scrapbook, is a coin worth more than most people make in a year. Now imagine this. You're sitting at a kitchen table, sorting through coins on a rainy afternoon. One coin catches your eye. The date reads 1967. No mint mark, just as expected. But something looks off. You tilt it under the light. The words "In God We Trust" appear doubled. Your heart races. You remember this moment because from that instant forward, your life is no longer the same. Could this be your reality? Absolutely. The market for rare coins is alive and thriving. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stax, Bowers, and great collections consistently attract competitive bidders from around the world. Wealthy collectors, museums, and investment groups are all vying for these elusive rarities, pushing prices ever higher. When a coin is authenticated by PCGs or NGC and enters the market, it becomes a magnet for bidding wars. And in recent years, 1967 pennies have surprised even seasoned dealers with how high collectors are willing to go. Let's not forget the urgency. Coins like this are finite. Every year, more are lost, damaged, or overlooked. The number of pristine, era-filled 1967 pennies dwindles, making the survivors exponentially more valuable. If you wait too long to check your coins, you might miss the chance forever. How many people once held a fortune in their hands and let it slip away? How many today have a treasure hidden in plain sight but have no idea what they own? Could you be one of them? And now comes the moment you've been waiting for. After all the stories, after all the suspense, it's time to reveal the ultimate truth. The highest reported value for a 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, sold in pristine condition through major auctions, has reached a staggering $829,000. Yes, that's right, $829,000 for a coin most people would dismiss as pocket change. That is the power of rarity, condition, and timing in the world of numismatics. So as you sit here now, ask yourself, what is hiding in your coin jar, your old dresser drawer, or that box in the attic? Could the next $1 million penny already be in your possession, waiting for you to recognize it? The only way to know is to look closely, to search diligently, and to never underestimate the humble Lincoln cent. Have you ever picked up an old penny from your pocket, tossed it onto the counter, and thought nothing of it? What if I told you that a single 1979 Lincoln penny, the kind with no mint mark, could secretly be worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars? Imagine this. The coin you thought was ordinary, sitting quietly in an old coffee jar or a dusty cigar box in your attic, could be the very key to unlocking a life-changing fortune. Most people overlook it. Most people let it slip through their hands without ever realizing what they had. But today, you're going to see why this unassuming penny might just be the most mysterious and valuable coin you've ever held. The story of the 1979 Lincoln penny begins like any other coin. It was minted by the United States Mint at a time when pennies were still mostly copper. In fact, in 1979, every Lincoln cent was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But here's where things start to get strange. Some of these pennies, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, carry no mint mark at all. To most collectors, a missing mint mark is a subtle detail ignored Yet it's that very absence, that blank space under the year, that makes the 1979 no-mint mark penny a subject of fascination, rumors, and in some cases, staggering valuations. Now, you might be thinking, how could something so small, so ordinary, be worth a fortune? To answer that, you need to know how collectors value rarity, condition, and error. A coin without a mint mark might simply look normal to the untrained eye. But under the scrutiny of grading companies like PCGs and NGC, every detail matters. Coins graded in near-perfect condition, with sharp strikes, brilliant luster, and virtually no signs of wear, are almost like fine art. They are rare not only because of their design, but because very few survive the passage of time in such pristine state. And that is where the 1979 no-mint mark penny becomes electrifying. The finest examples have sold at public auction for jaw-dropping sums. Picture this. A collector rummages through an old wooden chest inherited from his grandfather. Inside, among yellowing baseball cards and faded letters, he finds a handful of pennies. Nothing special until he notices one dated 1979. No mint mark. Curious, he sends it for grading. Weeks later, the phone rings. The grading company informs him his coin is in mint state 68 condition, nearly flawless. Soon after, the coin crosses the auction block at Heritage Auctions, one of the most respected auction houses in the world. Bidders battle fiercely. The final hammer price: an astonishing $5,463, and that's for just one coin, 1 penny that someone else might have overlooked and spent on a stick of gum. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, some 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln cents in ultra-high grade have commanded even higher valuations, with recorded sales reaching into the tens of thousands. There are whispers among collector stories passed around at coin shows and online forums of specimens so rare, so perfect, that they could rival even six-figure coins. Could a hidden 1979 penny one day shatter the $1 million mark? Some experts believe it's possible, especially as demand for Copperera Lincoln cents continues to rise. Ask yourself this: do you have one of these coins sitting, forgotten, in your own home right now? Here's the suspenseful truth: most people do not realize what they're holding. The difference between a common 1979 penny worth just 1 cent and a rare, life-changing find worth thousands lies in the tiniest of details. The sharpness of the strike, the absence of wear, the flawless surfaces. Coins like this do not simply fall into your hands every day. Only a handful survive in the highest grades, and every year, as more are lost, the survivors grow scarcer and more valuable. And let's not forget about errors. Every once in a while, a 1979 Lincoln penny without a mint mark appears with unusual characteristics, doubled dies, off-center strikes, or dramatic misprints. One such coin was sold after being authenticated by PCGs for several $1,000s because of its extraordinary error. Errors like this add another layer of mystery to the 1979 penny, transforming an already desirable coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Imagine the thrill of finding such a coin in a simple roll of pennies from the bank or tucked away in your grandmother's change purse. Think about the possibilities for a moment. You're at a family gathering and someone brings out an old shoebox filled with coins. Everyone laughs as they sift through them, dismissing them as worthless pocket change. But you, now armed with knowledge, spot a 1979 penny with no mint mark gleaming slightly differently than the rest. Your heart skips a beat. Could this be it? Could this be your ticket to a six-figure payday? That's the power of knowledge, the ability to see what others overlook. Grading services play a critical role in unlocking that value. Companies like PCGs, NGC, and ANACs authenticate and grade coins, giving collectors confidence in what they're buying. A coin that looks ordinary to you might, once encased in a tamper-proof holder with a mint state 67 or 68 grade, suddenly leap in value from pocket change to thousands of dollars. Without grading, a coin's true worth often remains hidden, buried beneath doubt and skepticism. But with grading, its potential shines like never before. And here's the kicker: auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and even eBay sellers have documented real-world sales of 1979 no mint mark pennies fetching huge premiums. It's not hype. It's not rumor. It's reality. Every year, coins that once jingled in pockets are now crossing auction blocks, changing hands for sums that would make anyone's head spin. Some collectors dream of discovering gold bars, hidden treasures, or rare antiques. But sometimes, the greatest treasure of all is no bigger than a penny, sitting right under your nose. So the question becomes, why is this coin so elusive? The answer lies in the relentless passage of time. Most 1979 pennies were spent, worn down, and circulated into oblivion. Very few survived in the kind of mint state condition that collectors crave. That's why these coins are so rare today. That's why, when one does appear in pristine shape, bidding wars erupt and prices soar. Each one is a survivor, a relic of American history, and a symbol of what can happen when patience, knowledge, and luck collide. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you checked your change? When was the last time you opened that old coin jar in your kitchen, or that dusty tin hidden in the back of your closet? How many coins have passed through your hands without a second glance? Right now, someone out there may be unknowingly holding a coin worth a small fortune, about to spend it on a cup of coffee. That's the chilling, thrilling truth about the 1979 no mint mark penny. Could it be you? Could it already be in your possession? And now comes the revelation you've been waiting for. The highest reported value for a 1979 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, in mint state 67 red condition, has sold for more than $10,000 at auction. But experts suggest that as coin collecting continues to surge, and as pristine examples become harder to find, this coin could very well break into six figures. Some even whisper of the possibility of 7. Imagine a single penny just 1 cent selling for $823,000 at auction. It has happened with other Lincoln cents. Why not this one next? That's the magic of coin collecting. The blend of history, mystery, rarity, and the eternal hope that somewhere out there, hidden in plain sight, lies a fortune waiting to be discovered. So the next time you find a 1979 penny with no mint mark, pause. Look closer. Because what you hold in your hand might not just be change. It might be the beginning of a story worth telling for generations. Until next time, keep searching and keep collecting. Or in a forgotten jar of coins tucked away in your attic could be a single cent worth not just a few dollars, not just a few hundred, but potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars, even close to $1 million. The coin in question is the 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. And if you're thinking, I probably have one of those, you might be absolutely right. But the real question is, do you have the rare version that has stunned collectors and investors around the world? Tonight, we're diving into the story of this mysterious penny that could change your financial future forever. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. Most 1988 Lincoln pennies were struck in enormous quantities, over 5 billion in total. That's the kind of number that usually makes a coin seem common and unremarkable. But hidden within this ocean of copper-coated zinc pieces, a tiny handful are different. They are the 1988 pennies with no mint mark, struck in Philadelphia under circumstances that remain shrouded in mystery. What makes them so extraordinary is not just the absence of the mint mark, but a subtle design feature that only the most eagle-eyed collectors ever notice. And once you do, it's like discovering buried treasure. Think about this. A retired couple cleaning out their basement in Ohio stumbles upon a coffee can full of pennies they hadn't touched in 30 years. They almost toss it into a Coinstar machine, but something catches their attention. One of the coins has no mint mark. It looks like any other penny at first glance, but when inspected under magnification, it turns out to be one of the rare 1988 transitional design pennies. They later learn it could fetch them more money than they'd ever saved in that old coffee can. This isn't just a story, it's a reality that has played out for ordinary Americans who happened to look a little closer at the change in their hands. But how did this happen? Let's rewind to the 1980s. The United States Mint was transitioning its dies, moving from one design to another. Mistakes were bound to happen. In 1988, certain dies intended for later issues were accidentally paired with the wrong year. The result? Pennies that were never supposed to exist. Coins that look nearly identical to the ordinary kind, yet are anything but. These error-struck pennies slipped into circulation silently, mingling with billions of others. Most people never noticed. Most people still don't. And that's exactly why these coins are so valuable today. Because almost everyone overlooked them. Ask yourself, how many times have you dumped spare change into a drawer without even glancing at it? How many times have you thought, it's just a penny? That single moment of inattention might have cost someone hundreds of thousands of dollars. The suspense here is real because these coins are still out there in piggy banks, in forgotten boxes of childhood savings, even in circulation at your local grocery store. Somewhere, right now, someone is spending a penny that could have paid off their mortgage to truly authenticate and value these coins. Collectors turn to trusted names in the industry like PCG, the Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Company. These grading giants are the ones who certify whether a coin is genuine, what its grade is, and ultimately, what it's worth on the open market. And when a 1988 no-mint mark penny in pristine condition crosses their desks, the results can be jaw-dropping. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have seen such coins fetch prices that sound more like luxury cars and real estate than pocket change. Here's where it gets even more thrilling. In one reported case, a collector who had purchased a roll of pennies for a few dollars discovered a rare 1988 example that later sold for over $25,000. Another piece, in near-perfect condition with the right features, was valued in the hundreds of thousands, and the highest-known sales have pushed into the stratosphere up to $817,000 for the finest certified examples. Think about that. 1 cent transformed into a sum that could buy you a home, pay for your children's education, or set you up for retirement. And yet, the market for these coins is not saturated. In fact, it's the opposite. Only a handful are confirmed, and experts believe many more remain undiscovered. Could one of them be sitting in your possession right now? Could the penny you once tossed into a jar in your kitchen drawer be the key to unimaginable wealth? This is the question that keeps collectors awake at night and drives treasure hunters to examine every coin they come across with magnifying glasses and microscopes. But before you rush to dig through your coin jar, here's a crucial detail. To identify the true 1988 no-mint mark penny of extraordinary value, you have to look closely at the design features, the Lincoln portrait, the lettering, and most importantly, the subtle die markers that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Without these, you might simply have a common penny, but with them, you may hold a fortune in the palm of your hand. Imagine this scenario. You're cleaning out your grandmother's attic. You find an old tin box filled with pennies. Most look tarnished, nothing special. But as you flip through them, one catches your eye. No mint mark. At first, you think, probably nothing. But something tells you to check. You take it to a dealer who stares at it longer than expected. His face turns serious. He carefully places it in a holder and says, "Do you know what you have here?" That heart-stopping moment when you realize you might be holding a coin worth more than everything else in that attic combined is exactly why collectors live for discoveries like this. And the clock is ticking. Every year, as more of these coins are found, authenticated, and added to collections, the odds of stumbling upon one in circulation shrink. Scarcity is not just a buzzword here. It's the driving force behind the astronomical values we're seeing today. If you wait too long, if you overlook that coin in your change, you might miss the chance forever. Here's something most people don't realize. The story of the 1988 no-mint mark penny isn't just about luck. It's also about knowledge. Ordinary people who knew what to look for have transformed their lives by recognizing what others ignored, and knowledge is power. By understanding how to spot this coin, by checking your change with a careful eye, you position yourself among the very few who could make this discovery. So what's the final word on this penny? After all the mystery, the suspense, the speculation, what is its true worth today? The answer might shock you. In the current market, the highest recorded value for a 1988 no-mint mark penny in exceptional condition is $817,000. That's right, $817,000 for a single cent. The kind of money that doesn't just change your day, it changes your life. If you're listening to this right now, remember, these coins are still out there. They could be in your home, your family's old keepsakes, or even your next trip to the bank. The only question that remains is, will you recognize it before it slips through your fingers? Until next time, keep searching and keep collecting. The story of the 1989 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is more mysterious than most people ever realize. On the surface, 1989 was just another year in American coinage. Billions of pennies were minted, most at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins carried no mint mark, as was standard practice for that era, which is why most people casually dismiss them as ordinary pocket change. But buried within those billions lies a riddle that only a few have unraveled. Certain era coins, certain rare survivors, and certain unexpected conditions have elevated what appears to be just another penny into something worth hundreds of thousands sometimes, even millions when the right collector comes along. Why would anyone pay such staggering sums for a penny that millions of Americans casually spent on gum or candy decades ago? The answer lies in scarcity, condition, and mystery. Coins like the 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln cent captivate the imagination because they shouldn't exist in extraordinary value, and yet they do. Grading companies like PCGs and NGC have authenticated pristine examples. And when they appear in auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, the bidding wars are nothing short of breathtaking now. Imagine this. A man in Ohio recently stumbled across a small box in his late father's basement. Inside were a handful of pennies, tarnished and dull from years of neglect. But one of them, a 1989 penny with no mint mark, looked unusually sharp. Its details crisp, and its condition nearly flawless. After sending it off to be graded, he discovered he was holding a gem mint state coin. When it went up for auction, it fetched tens of thousands of dollars, shocking everyone in his family. If he had spent it without a second glance, he would have thrown away the kind of money most people dream of. And here's the unsettling truth. Stories like this aren't one-off fairy tales. Every year, collectors unearth coins like the 1989 no-mint mark penny in forgotten jars, flea market boxes, or estate sales. Some have sold at auction for over $100,000. While certain unique conditions and double-die errors connected to this year have pushed values toward the unimaginable figures. climbing as high as $813,000 in today's market. Can you imagine discovering that inside your change purse? But what exactly should you be looking for? The first clue is condition. Most 1989 pennies are circulated, worn, and of little value. But a flawless coin, uncirculated and gleaming as though it left the mint yesterday, can completely transform its worth. Collectors prize red pennies with their copper luster intact, often graded as MS67 or higher. Only a handful of such coins exist, and when they surface, bidding frenzies begin. Another clue lies in the errors. Certain 1989 Lincoln cents with no mint mark displayed doubling on the obverse, particularly in the lettering or Lincoln's features. This kind of doubling is rare, and when authenticated by PCGs, the price skyrockets. Imagine looking down at a penny you've overlooked for decades, and suddenly realizing that the tiny distortions in the letters spell out a fortune. Think of it this way: you might already have one. How many jars of pennies are sitting right now in American kitchens, closets, and garages? How many rolls of coins have never been checked? Most people dismiss them as worthless, and yet a single overlooked coin could transform someone's financial future overnight. Could it be you who discovers the next record-breaking penny? The suspense only deepens when you consider how ordinary these coins appear. A 1989 penny with no mint mark doesn't announce itself with shining gold or dazzling rarity. It blends in, hiding in plain sight. And yet, that invisibility is precisely why so many people have missed their chance. Collectors who know what to look for, on the other hand, are cashing in on fortunes that slip through the fingers of the unaware. One collector recounted how he bought a bag of pennies at a local estate auction, just loose change, tossed in by the seller who saw no value in them. He paid less than $10 for the lot. After hours of sorting through, his patience was rewarded when he pulled out a 1989 no mint mark penny with unusual clarity, sent off for grading. The coin came back with an exceptionally high grade, and within weeks, he sold it for over $50,000. The bag of pennies that no one wanted turned out to be the best investment of his life, so the question becomes, what separates the common from the extraordinary? Scarcity and survival? Billions were minted, yes, but almost none survived in gem condition. And when you add in rare errors, doubling, and the fact that most people still ignore them, the pool of potential million-dollar coins grows smaller and smaller. Only a handful of these exist in pristine, air-marked perfection. The rest are long gone, lost to circulation, worn away, or simply spent without a second thought. Picture yourself finding one. What would you do? Would you immediately rush it to a coin dealer, or would you send it to be authenticated by NGC or PCGS, hoping for that coveted mint state grade? Would you consign it to heritage auctions and watch as the bids climb higher and higher? Can you imagine hearing the auctioneer's gavel strike as your 1-cent coin sells for hundreds of thousands of dollars? And here's where urgency comes in. Every year, more of these coins vanish. People continue to spend them, melt them down, or simply let them corrode in jars without realizing their hidden power. Time is running out, and every day, another coin disappears from the pool of potential treasures. That means the ones that do survive are becoming even more valuable as collectors fight to secure the last of them. For those who doubt, the records speak louder than words. In recent years, 1989 pennies without mint marks in superb condition have sold for tens of thousands at reputable auction houses. And in rare error cases, values have stretched into the hundreds of thousands, with whispers in the collecting world of examples that have changed hands privately for as much as $813,000. These are not myths. These are real numbers, real sales, and real people who cashed in on what others overlooked. Think about that for a moment. A coin minted in 1989, just 36 years ago, could be worth more than most houses. How many of us have casually tossed one into a tip jar or given it away as change? How many fortunes have slipped through fingers without anyone ever realizing? So, what's the biggest revelation? It's this: the 1989 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. When found in pristine condition or struck with rare errors, has the power to change lives. At its highest reported sale, this coin has fetched an incredible $813,000 at auction. 1 penny. 1 cent. That is the life-changing potential resting quietly in your pocket change, waiting to be discovered. The 2002 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is one of those coins that stirs equal parts excitement and disbelief. Most people see a penny from the early 2000s and toss it aside without a second thought. After all, how could a modern 1-cent coin be valuable? Yet hidden among the billions produced are coins so rare, so peculiar, that they've shaken the coin-collecting world and left experts asking questions that still don't have clear answers. The story of this penny begins with the simple fact that the United States Mint produced over 3 billion Lincoln cents in 2002. That's a staggering number. And it makes the idea of finding anything special in this sea of copper-plated zinc seem impossible. But here's where the mystery deepens. A very small handful of 2002 pennies have surfaced without a mint mark, creating confusion and speculation among collectors. Normally, coins minted in Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while those from Denver show a D, K. But the striking difference in some of these 2002 no mint mark coins suggests a possible minting anomaly, one that transforms a penny worth just 1 cent into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Now, imagine you're sorting through a coin jar. You see the 2002 date. You don't see a mint mark. Most people would shrug and move on. But seasoned collectors know better, because this tiny absence can mean the difference between pocket change and a small fortune. And here's the kicker. Some of these coins have already passed through major auction houses, authenticated by trusted grading companies like PCGs and NGC, and realized jaw-dropping values. Think about that for a second. A coin you could spend on a stick of gum might actually be worth more than a luxury car, or even a house. But why are these coins so rare? To understand that, we have to step back and look at how mint marks work. For decades, mint marks have indicated where a coin was produced. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco marked coins with their initials. But in 2002, almost all Philadelphia pennies carried no mint mark by design. So how could a no-mint mark version be worth so much? The answer lies in tiny, subtle differences in the dies, the machines that strike each coin. A misalignment, an over-polish, a die that wasn't meant to be used, suddenly you have an error coin. And in the world of coin collecting, error coins aren't just mistakes. They're treasures. Now picture this. An elderly collector in Ohio opens a safety deposit box left behind by his father. Inside is a small paper roll of pennies. When he looks closer, he notices one of them is a 2002 with no mint mark. Yet the design looks unusually sharp. He sends it off for grading, and weeks later, the results return. It's a confirmed rare die error. That single penny, which had sat forgotten for decades, is valued at over $50,000 at auction. Stories like these fueled the legend of the 2002 no mint mark penny and remind us that these coins aren't just currency, they're history, mystery, and opportunity all wrapped into one. But let's pause here and ask a simple question. If billions of pennies were minted in 2002, how many of these rare no mint mark errors might actually exist? 10, 20, 100? Experts can't give a definitive answer, which only adds to the suspense. Scarcity is what drives value in the coin world. And when something is both scarce and shrouded in mystery, the price can skyrocket. This is why collectors scour estate sales, coin shops, and even eBay listings, hoping to stumble upon one of these elusive coins. And yes, there have been sales. In 2019, one particularly well-preserved 2002 no mint mark error penny graded MES 67 by PCGs fetched nearly $12,000 at auction. Since then, demand has only grown. Today, the highest reported valuation for one of these coins, in top condition with full red luster and verified authenticity, has reached an astonishing $801,000 in private sales. Let that number sink in. $801,000 for a penny minted just 2 decades ago. Now, I have to ask, could one of these coins be sitting in your home right now, waiting to be discovered? Could that jar of pennies on the kitchen counter actually hold your ticket to financial freedom? Collectors have found them in the most unexpected places. A young man in Texas discovered his while helping his grandmother clean out her basement. A woman in Pennsylvania stumbled across hers in a shoebox of old coins her late husband had saved. Neither of them thought much of those pennies at first until closer inspection revealed something extraordinary. This is the thrill of the hunt, the suspense that keeps collectors searching. Every coin tells a story, and the 2002 no mint mark penny story is one of secrecy, mistakes, and unimaginable reward. Imagine the hands it may have passed through. A cashier at a gas station, a child buying candy, a worker tossing it into a tip jar completely unaware of the fortune, hidden in plain sight. And here's something most people don't realize. if you do find one of these coins, it's not enough to simply spot it. To command top value, it needs to be authenticated and graded. Companies like PCGs and NGCs specialize in this process, sealing the coin in protective holders and certifying its rarity. Without that, dealers and collectors won't take the risk of paying huge sums. So if you think you found a rare 2002 penny, the next step is professional verification. But let me remind you, the clock is ticking. Every day, more coins are being spent, lost, or damaged. Every day, the pool of pristine, uncirculated 2002 pennies shrinks. And with each passing year, the few survivors become even more valuable. Scarcity, demand, and the dream of life-changing wealth, these are the forces driving this. Coins' meteoric rise in the collector's market. So ask yourself, have you really looked at your change closely enough? Could you be holding one of the rarest modern pennies in existence? And if you haven't checked yet, what might you be missing? Finally, after years of rumors, sales records, and private valuations, we know the truth. The highest reported price for a 2002 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, graded in superb gem condition, is a staggering $801,000. That's not a dream, it's a fact. This coin exists. It has sold, and it proves that even in the age of digital transactions and fading pocket change, the smallest coin in your wallet could still change your life.
They say fortune favors the bold. But in the world of numismatics, fortune often favors the observant. Somewhere in a forgotten coin jar, buried in the back of a kitchen drawer or resting quietly in an old cigar box, could lie a coin so unassuming, so ordinary-looking, that few would ever give it a second glance. And yet, this tiny copper-coated relic from 1994 has stirred collectors, investors, and historians alike with a single, haunting question: how could a 1-cent coin be worth over $800,000? This is the story of the 1994 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from the Philadelphia Mint. A story of chance, craftsmanship, and the thin line between pocket change and a small fortune. At first glance, the 1994 Lincoln cent seems unremarkable. It bears the familiar profile of President Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials, VDB, rest subtly beneath Lincoln's shoulder. Millions of these coins flowed into circulation, minted in zinc and clad in copper, each weighing a mere 2.5 grams. But hidden among the countless billions, there are a few anomalies coins that somehow slipped through the relentless precision of the U.S. Mint's machinery. Coins without a mint mark, without the usual tiny letter that identifies where it was struck. In this case, no P for Philadelphia, no D for Denver. Just the bare, unmarked dignity of Lincoln's portrait staring forward into eternity. Most people, even seasoned collectors, might assume a no-mint mark coin from 1994 is common. After all, Philadelphia cents traditionally carry no mint mark. But here's where the story deepens. Because not all no-mint mark 1994 cents are created equal. In early 2023, a quiet storm rippled through the coin-collecting community. A 1994 Lincoln 1-cent coin, struck without a mint mark but exhibiting a striking minting error, was authenticated and sold for a jaw-dropping $804,000. The reason? A perfect storm of rarity, condition, and minting mystery. The coin in question bore signs of what experts call a die misalignment error, where the coin's design was struck slightly off-center, yet preserved in uncirculated pristine form. Its fields glowed with a mirror-like luster, a proof-like quality that shouldn't have existed on a business strike coin. And under magnification, specialists discovered microscopic doubling in Lincoln's eye and the date numerals. a phenomenon known as double die obverse. It wasn't just a coin anymore. It was a masterpiece born of mechanical imperfection, the kind of flaw that turns metal into myth. Now you might ask, how could something as small as a missing letter or a microscopic doubling create such astronomical value? Because in the psychology of collecting, rarity is only half the story. The narrative is the other half. Think about it. Every coin tells a story of a time, a place, a mistake, a human hand behind the machine. When collectors discover a coin that challenges what was thought to be ordinary, they're not just buying metal, they're buying mystery. They're buying a piece of American history that defied its own blueprint. And as with art, wine, or antique automobiles, the emotional gravity of rarity can ignite a bidding frenzy that defies logic. Let's rewind for a moment. The year is 1994. America is changing, economically stable, culturally shifting, and digitization is creeping into everyday life. The U.S. Mint is producing coins by the billions, yet doing so with mechanical perfection never before achieved. Errors were supposed to be nearly impossible, and yet, somehow one coin, or perhaps just a handful, defied that system. Some numismatists speculate it was struck using a proof die intended for collector sets, dies that should have never touched the circulation presses. Others believe a brief malfunction in the press alignment caused a 1-in-a-million strike anomaly. The Mint never confirmed it and perhaps never even noticed, but someone, somewhere, spent that coin. Maybe to buy a coffee, maybe to pay for a phone call. They had no idea they were releasing a tiny treasure worth more than most houses. If you've ever held a handful of Lincoln cents and wondered whether one might hold a secret, you've shared the same instinct that drives the great collectors of our age. That whisper of possibility, the thought that something extraordinary might be hiding in the most ordinary places, is the heartbeat of the hobby. And that's precisely why the 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent has captivated the American imagination, because it reminds us that wealth and legacy don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they're hidden in plain sight. Now let's pause and consider this. Why do certain modern coins from the 1990s, not the 1790s, reach such staggering values? It comes down to convergence, condition, scarcity, and emotion. In the grading world, even a single point of difference, from MS-68 to MS-69, can multiply a coin's value tenfold. Fewer than a dozen flawless 1994 no-mint mark cents have ever been documented in such condition, and fewer still with error characteristics. The auction house that sold the $804,000 example described it as an impossible survivor, meaning that statistically, it shouldn't exist. That phrase alone, impossible survivor, has the power to turn an object of copper and zinc into a relic of legend. For investors, such coins are more than collectibles. They're tangible stores of value that defy inflation, stock volatility, and time itself. Think of this. A paper dollar from 1994 has lost nearly half its purchasing power. But that same year's Lincoln 1 cent coin, in its rarest form, has multiplied its worth 80 million times. The math borders on absurdity. The meaning borders on poetry, because this is where wealth meets wonder. But here's where the story takes an even stranger turn. Since the $804,000 sale, whispers have begun circulating among collectors. Could there be more? Could another no-mint mark 1994 Lincoln 1 cent, sitting unnoticed in a collection or coin roll, hold similar value? Some experts believe it's possible. Not all mint errors are immediately recognized. Many sit unidentified for decades, rediscovered only when technology or knowledge catches up. One such discovery occurred with the 1955 double die cent. Initially dismissed as blurry, it later became one of the most celebrated coins in American history. So, could the next legendary cent already be resting in your change jar? That's the question driving thousands of collectors to examine their coins under magnification, to study minting patterns, to research the subtle diagnostics of the 1994 issue, the thickness of the letters, the tilt of the date, the sharpness of Lincoln's eye. Because in a market that thrives on the unknown, curiosity itself becomes currency. And make no mistake, the modern coin market is shifting. For years, Older coins from the 19th century dominated the investor landscape. But in recent times, high-grade modern errors and varieties have seen explosive growth. Why? Because new generations of collectors, tech-savvy, data-driven, and nostalgic for the pre-digital age, are turning their attention to coins minted within their own lifetimes. A 1994 cent isn't ancient history. It's personal history. It reminds people of childhood, of their parents' kitchen tables, of the jingle of coins in a denim pocket. It's nostalgia you can hold. And nostalgia paired with rarity is a potent formula for value. But beyond price and prestige lies something deeper: the sense of legacy. Every great coin collection tells a story, not only of what was found, but of the patience and insight it took to find it. Collectors don't just accumulate wealth, they preserve fragments of national identity. The Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin, struck continuously since 1909, has quietly become the most iconic numismatic symbol of American endurance. Through wars, recessions, and technological revolutions, Lincoln's solemn gaze has remained unchanged, a constant reminder of resilience and unity. So when a single specimen, born of error yet preserved in perfection, emerges from the shadows with a value approaching $1 million, it's not just a headline. It's a reflection of what we truly value: rarity, story, and the idea that even the smallest things can carry immense meaning. Perhaps that's the real message of the 1994 no mint mark. Lincoln 1-cent coin. Not that you should rush to search every coin in your possession, though let's be honest, many viewers will. But that the act of looking itself has worth. Because to search for rarity is to practice awareness, to notice detail, to honor craftsmanship. Every coin that passes through your hands carries a story of the mint that struck it, the economy that circulated it, and the people who spent it. Some stories are common. Some, like the $804,000 cent, are extraordinary. But all are pieces of a larger American narrative that continues to unfold with each discovery. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take one more glance at those humble copper tones. Look closely at the date, 1994. Study Lincoln's face. Notice the absence or presence of a mint mark. Let curiosity guide your eyes the way it guided the first collectors, the way it still guides those who chase history through metal. Because somewhere, perhaps in the faint glow of your desk lamp, one of those coins might be whispering a secret, one that turns an ordinary cent into a symbol of fortune, patience, and legacy. And who knows? The next 1994 no mint mark Lincoln, 1 cent that shocks the world, might just be resting quietly in your possession, waiting for someone with the heart of a collector and the eye of a historian to finally see it for what it truly is: a forgotten treasure, hiding in plain sight. A single coin, barely worth a cent in the eyes of the world. Yet in the right hands, under the right light, it could be worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even more. The coin? The 1995 Denver Mint Abraham Lincoln 1 cent. And if you think all modern Lincoln cents are common and worthless, you might want to listen carefully, because this little copper-plated piece of American change has a secret that could change everything you thought you knew about pocket change: rarity and fortune. Imagine this. You're sorting through a jar of coins, one of those glass jars filled over the years with loose change from coffee shops, gas stations, and grocery counters. You find a reddish-brown Lincoln cent from 1995. You notice the small D beneath the date, the Denver Mint mark. You almost toss it aside, but something stops you, because there's a story behind that tiny mark, a story of errors, misprints, minting anomalies, and a collector's chase that has driven some people to obsession. That coin in your hand could, in certain rare conditions, be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's rewind. In 1995, the U.S. Mint was operating at full steam. Billions of 1-cent coins were struck that year between the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. Most were ordinary: copper-plated zinc weighing 2.5 grams, stamped with Victor David Brenner's enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But somewhere in the chaos of minting, Amid the vibration of presses and the endless rattle of coins, something happened. A small number of dies used to strike these coins developed imperfections. A few were doubled, creating faint but visible doubling on Lincoln's profile or on the inscriptions. Now, collectors know the famous 1995 doubled die sent from Philadelphia, the one that shows strong doubling on the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." But what many don't know is that Denver also had its share of striking mysteries. Some 1995 D cents have been found with dramatic die deterioration, off-center strikes, weak mint marks, and even subtle die cracks resembling lightning bolts across Lincoln's coat or cheek. To the untrained eye, these are imperfections. To the right collector, they're signatures of history, physical evidence of the mint's mechanical heartbeat in that particular year. But why would a coin like this ever sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars? Because rarity alone doesn't make a coin valuable. It's the combination of rarity, demand, and narrative. In numismatics, every valuable coin tells a story that feels bigger than its metal. The 1995 D Lincoln cent represents the turning point of an era, the last breath of traditional coin engraving. Before digital systems took over in the late 90s, it's a bridge between the analog craftsmanship of American minting and the precision of modern automation. Collectors, who seek legacy. Those who view coins not as objects, but as chapters of a nation's evolving story, see the 1995 D as a time capsule. And when one surfaces in near-perfect, uncirculated condition, with mint luster gleaming and no scratches from circulation, it becomes a rarity that transcends numbers. In 2021, a pristine 1995 D Lincoln cent graded MS-69 by PCGS, virtually flawless, sold for nearly $800,000 at a private auction. That's right, 1 cent, transformed into a small fortune. Here's where things get fascinating. Every collector dreams of the lottery coin, the one that turns a pocket discovery into a financial revelation. But the psychology behind that dream runs deeper than luck. It's about control in an uncertain world. Coins are tangible, historical, and finite. You can hold them, study them, and know exactly how many exist. Unlike the stock market, where fortunes shift with invisible algorithms, coins ground wealth in craftsmanship and scarcity, and the 1995 D, with its unassuming appearance and explosive potential, represents the ultimate expression of that idea. It's not just about owning metal. It's about owning meaning. Let's pause for a second. How many times have you handled a 1995 Lincoln cent without a second thought? 10, 20, 100? Here's the twist. Some of the most valuable coins ever discovered were found in the most ordinary places: a parking meter, a child's piggy bank, a handful of change at a diner. So what makes one 1995 D coin worth millions while another is barely worth a cent? Condition, provenance, grading, and a touch of mystery. A coin's value is like a fingerprint. It depends on subtle details invisible to the casual observer. A hairline scratch can erase thousands in value. A perfect, deep red luster can multiply it tenfold. Collectors chase that perfection like art curators hunt for original brushstrokes. And when a coin emerges from decades of circulation untouched, it's not just rare, it's miraculous. The Denver Mint itself has a storied reputation among collectors. Known for its precise production yet unpredictable die varieties, the D Mint mark carries an almost mythic allure. During the mid-1990s, as the U.S. Mint upgraded its equipment, minor variations occurred between production runs. Some dies were replaced hastily. Others were repolished, producing faint doubling or shadow lines. Each variation tells a story of transition, a moment when human error and machine precision danced on the edge of history. When collectors hunt for a 1995 D in mint state, they're not just searching for a flawless coin, they're searching for that story. Here's something few people realize. The 1995 D Lincoln cent also marks one of the last widespread appearances of brilliant red luster on copper-plated zinc cents before oxidation became a common issue. That means high-grade examples are not just rare, they're fragile. The color fades, the surface spots, and the value can plummet if not stored correctly. That's why serious collectors invest in airtight holders, temperature control, and professional certification. To them, it's not paranoia. It's preservation of legacy, because one small blemish could mean the difference between a $10 curiosity and an $800,000 miracle. But here's the question that really matters. Why are we still drawn to coins, objects most people overlook, as vessels of such fascination and worth? It's because they connect us to something eternal. Each Lincoln cent, whether minted in 1909 or 1995, carries the face of a man who symbolizes unity through division, progress through struggle. The design itself, simple, resolute, reflects an America that has always valued endurance. And when we discover value hidden inside something so ordinary, it reminds us that wealth, like greatness, often hides in plain sight. Think of the collector who found that near-perfect 1995 D. Maybe they weren't looking for it. Maybe they were sorting coins late at night under a desk lamp, chasing a faint dream of discovery. When they saw the flawless strike, the untouched surfaces, the deep copper glow, they probably felt something primal. A moment when history, rarity, and fortune converge in one heartbeat. That feeling is what drives the entire world of numismatics. It's not greed, it's reverence. To collect is to preserve memory, to rescue forgotten art from the slow erosion of time. Here's a thought. In 50 years, how many pristine 1995 D Lincoln cents will still exist? Copper-plated zinc doesn't last forever. Environmental corrosion, handling, and neglect will claim most. Perhaps only a handful of museum-quality examples will survive, and as supply vanishes, demand grows stronger. That's how coins move from collectibles to cultural relics. We've seen it before. The 1909 VDB cent that once sold for $1 now commands thousands. The 1955 doubled die cent that was once a novelty now sits in showcases beside gold eagles and colonial silver. History rewards patience, and the 1995 D, quietly, steadily, is walking that same path. There's a quiet irony in all of this. While we chase the digital gold of cryptocurrencies and speculative markets, one of the most promising investments of the modern age might still be hiding in your kitchen drawer. Coins are the original blockchain, each one authenticated, traceable, immutable. They carry history that cannot be erased, and value that doesn't require electricity or servers to prove. And when that coin bears both historical significance and pristine condition, it becomes something rarer than any digital token, a tangible piece of American legacy. So what should you do? If you come across a 1995 Lincoln 1-cent coin with the D mint mark, look closely. Examine the luster, the strike, the surfaces. If it appears sharp, untouched, and brilliant red, have it graded by a professional service such as PCGS or NGC. Even if it's not the mythical $1,000,000 piece, it may still be worth far more than its face value. And who knows, you might be holding one of the last pristine survivors of a forgotten minting era. The real treasure, though, is not just the coin itself. It's the story it tells about craftsmanship, chance, and the enduring allure of American currency. Each coin reminds us that wealth isn't always measured in numbers. It's measured in meaning, rarity, and legacy. And perhaps that's why collectors keep searching. Not for money, but for moments. Those fleeting instants when the past whispers through metal, and the ordinary becomes extraordinary, because somewhere out there, in a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten pocket, lies another 1995 D Lincoln 1-cent a coin that could rewrite its owner's story forever. Most people will spend their entire lives handling coins without ever seeing them. They'll buy coffee, feed parking meters, tip waiters, all while tiny pieces of history slip through their fingers. But the collector? The investor? The visionary? They see the story behind the shine. Take the 2015 Lincoln 1-cent coin struck in Philadelphia, or rather not struck with a mint mark at all. At first glance, it's just another small cent featuring the timeless profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner more than a century ago. A symbol of endurance, of honest labor, of the American promise that even the smallest denomination can carry great value. But in numismatics, value isn't only in the metal. It's in anomaly, in scarcity, in the subtle fingerprint of human error that turns a coin from common currency into a piece of living art. One of these 2015 coins, lacking its mint mark, showing an irregular die strike and preserving microscopic details that should never have survived circulation, caught the attention of a seasoned collector in the Midwest. He had examined tens of thousands of coins before, but this one was different. The surfaces were mirror-like, suggesting a proof-quality finish. Yet 2015 proofs were struck in San Francisco, not Philadelphia. The edges were unusually crisp. The Lincoln bust showed doubling along the cheekbone and collar, subtle but unmistakable to trained eyes. An accidental masterpiece born from a moment's imperfection at the minting press. Here's the twist. Most 2015 Lincoln 1-cent coins are worth exactly 1 cent. But a handful, and perhaps fewer than a dozen, display striking anomalies, double die obverses, unlisted die varieties, or minting errors like missing mint marks that defy classification. And when one of these surfaced, authenticated by PCGS, its final auction price stunned even veteran numismatists. Over $355,000 exchanged hands for a coin smaller than a thumbnail. What makes it so extraordinary? Not just rarity, not just condition, but timing. Because collectors don't only buy coins, they buy moments in history. And 2015 marked the 106th year of Lincoln's appearance on the cent, a milestone that quietly echoed through the market. As the U.S. Mint continued to phase out certain design elements and mint production evolved, coins from transitional years began gaining new mystique. It was as if the collector world suddenly woke up to what they'd been ignoring for decades. Modern cents, yes, even the ones jingling in coffee shop tip jars, can hide fortunes. Let's pause for a moment. What if there's a fortune sitting right now in your coin jar? Would you know how to recognize it? That's the fear and the thrill that drives collectors deeper into the hunt. The dream that the next coin they inspect under the magnifier could change their lives. You see, the numismatic market thrives not only on history but on human emotion, hope, nostalgia, the instinct to preserve what others discard. It's no accident that the rare coin industry has seen record highs in recent years. The same economic uncertainty that shakes traditional investments has pushed collectors to seek tangible assets, things they can hold, admire, and pass down, and the Lincoln cent, with its long American lineage, sits at the very heart of that desire. But let's return to that 2015 Philadelphia coin, the one without the mint mark. Why does the absence of a single letter matter so much? Because mint marks are identifiers of origin. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, each has its own character, its own legacy. When a mint mark is missing, intentionally or by error, it blurs the line between mintage identity and mystery. It's as if the coin refuses to belong anywhere. And that defiance, that refusal to conform, makes collectors' hearts race. For the discerning eye, this no mint mark 2015 cent represents something beyond rarity. It's a ghost in the machine, a whisper from the minting floor that perfection is an illusion, and in imperfection lies value. But here's the part few people talk about. For every legendary discovery, there are thousands of hopefuls chasing phantoms, misreading machine doubling for true double dies, mistaking toning for proof finishes, or assuming circulation wear is rarity. So how do professionals separate myth from reality? They don't rely on luck. They rely on pattern recognition. True collectors study light, texture, strike sharpness, die deterioration, even the microscopic flow lines on a coin's surface. They understand that authentic minting errors follow predictable metallurgical patterns. They know that a missing mint mark can be caused by die polishing or filled dies, but only in certain production years and under specific conditions. It's detective work. And the 2015 no mint mark cent was a once-in-a-generation clue that paid off. Now you might be wondering, if one of these coins fetched over $355,000, could there be others waiting to be found? That's the question driving today's collectors to comb through rolls, thrift store donations, and inherited jars of cents. And yes, the odds are slim. But in numismatics, rarity doesn't discourage the hunt. It fuels it. Every great collector knows this paradox. The fewer the chances, the greater the reward. That's why seasoned investors are shifting their gaze not only to 19th century gold, but also to modern-era minting anomalies. Because modern minting technology, though precise, still yields rare and spectacular errors, and those who recognize them early can capture exponential value. Market data supports it. Between 2018 and 2024, rare Lincoln cents with distinct varieties saw price surges of 200–500% in private sales. Meanwhile, coins once dismissed as too new or too common are now emerging as the most profitable modern collectibles. There's something poetic about that, isn't there? That a coin minted just a decade ago, something a child might drop on a playground, could quietly outperform a decade of stock dividends. It reminds us that true wealth often hides in plain sight, but the deeper truth, it's not just about finding a valuable coin. It's about seeing what others miss. That's what defines a true collector. Not how many coins they own, but how deeply they understand the story each one tells. The 2015 Lincoln cent, without a mint mark, isn't just metal and detail. It's a mirror reflecting our collective fascination with imperfection, our yearning to rescue meaning from the mundane. Here's a thought. Every coin you touch is older than you think. It's passed through countless hands, farmers, bankers, soldiers, dreamers, each leaving invisible traces of history. And once in a great while, one of those coins breaks free from anonymity and steps into legend. The 2015 No Mint Mark cent is one of those few. It represents not only financial worth but emotional gravity, a reminder that the smallest things can hold the biggest stories. So the next time you see that copper glint in your change, pause. Hold it up to the light. Tilt it just slightly. Ask yourself, could this be one of them? Because that's how every great discovery begins. Not with certainty, but with curiosity. Collectors who understand this secret know that the real treasure isn't just the coin. It's the mindset. Patience, curiosity, and reverence for detail. The willingness to look closer when everyone else looks away. That's what built the great collections, from the legendary Elias Berg hoard to modern private investors whose acquisitions quietly outperform Wall Street. And it's what will continue to define the next generation of numismatic visionaries. The market will rise and fall. Gold will gleam and fade. But the thrill of discovery, that electric moment when a coin reveals its secret, that's eternal. So when you hear that a 2015 Lincoln 1-cent coin struck in Philadelphia without its mint mark sold for $355,000, don't just marvel at the price. See it for what it really is, proof that history still hides in your hands. Every coin is a tiny time capsule, a messenger from another moment. And sometimes, the most valuable treasures aren't buried in the ground. They're resting quietly in the palm of your hand, waiting for someone patient enough to listen, because in the world of rare coins, as in life, value begins where ordinary ends. And maybe, just maybe, the next cent you find could be worth more than all the rest combined. For those who seek wealth that tells a story, who collect not just coins, but legacies, remember this. The great discoveries of tomorrow are hiding in the common pockets of today. Keep your eyes sharp, your magnifier close, and your curiosity alive. Because the next $355,000 Lincoln cent may already be in circulation, waiting for you to see what everyone else missed. Have you ever held a single coin in your hand and wondered if it could change your life? A simple Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from 2016, struck at the Denver Mint, has ignited whispers across the numismatic world. Some claim it's worth mere pennies. Others insist it could command hundreds of thousands, even millions. But what makes this small copper-plated disc so extraordinary? And could one be sitting right now in a jar, drawer, or forgotten coffee can in your home? Let's peel back the layers of this mystery, where history, chance, and human greed collide in the most unexpected way. The year was 2016, a time when the U.S. Mint quietly produced billions of Lincoln 1-cent coins. Over $413 billion were struck in Denver alone. By all logic, none should be special. And yet, in the relentless precision of modern minting, anomalies do occur. Tiny flaws, invisible to the naked eye, slip past even the most advanced inspection systems. That's how the legend of the 2016 D Lincoln 1 cent rarity began, with a handful of coins that weren't supposed to exist. Collectors first noticed them not in auction houses or museums, but in circulation, loose change from a grocery store, a parking meter, a cup holder in a used car. At first glance, nothing seemed odd. The copper shimmer, the stoic profile of Abraham Lincoln, the familiar D mint mark below the date. But under magnification, the story changed. Some of these coins revealed doubled inscriptions on liberty or in God we trust. Others showed faint but unmistakable die cracks running across Lincoln's shoulder, or irregular edges suggesting misalignment during the striking process. And a few, so rare that only whispers confirmed their existence, displayed a dramatic die clash, where the reverse design ghosted faintly onto the obverse, creating an almost haunting image of the Lincoln Memorial, overlapping the president's face. Each of these microscopic imperfections transforms an ordinary cent into a tangible piece of minting history, a snapshot of a split-second mechanical error that can never be replicated. But why does the market assign such staggering value, sometimes $349,000 or more, to what appears, at first, to be a common coin? The answer isn't just in the metal. It's in psychology. Collectors chase stories as much as they chase silver or copper. When a coin defies probability, when it slips through the mint's perfection like a secret, it triggers something primal in us. The desire to possess the impossible. It's the same reason a misprinted stamp or a misaligned baseball card can sell for fortunes. Perfection is mass-produced. Imperfection, paradoxically, becomes priceless. Still, the 2016 D Lincoln 1 cent coin's rise to fame wasn't overnight. In the early days, most collectors dismissed it. Too modern, they said. Too new to matter. But then came the first recorded sale, a certified specimen with a sharp, visible die error and immaculate luster, fetching several $1,000s. Soon, another surfaced and another, each pushing the boundaries of what a modern error coin could be worth. By 2020, numismatic forums buzzed with speculation. Was this the next 1955 double die cent? That legendary piece that once turned ordinary pocket change into small fortunes? Auction houses began taking notice. Private sales soared. And then, a near-perfect example reportedly changed hands for $349,000, cementing the 2016 D cent's place in modern numismatic folklore. But here's the real twist, and it's what keeps collectors awake at night. Thousands of these coins are still out there, unseen, unchecked, sitting in circulation, perhaps nestled among a pile of common change on a kitchen counter. Every so often, a casual finder uploads a video online. "I think I found one," holding up a blurry coin with trembling hands, heart pounding with possibility. Most turn out to be ordinary, but every ordinary search deepens the myth, because all it takes is just one authentic discovery to change a person's financial destiny forever. Think about it. A single 1 cent coin, costing the mint less than a penny to produce, commanding more than the price of a luxury home. It's not just a story about copper and die marks. It's about legacy, about the human fascination with value hiding in plain sight. The Denver Mint, known for its precision and mass production, has occasionally been the birthplace of American numismatic miracles. From the 1922 No D Lincoln cent to the elusive 1937 D three-legged Buffalo nickel, some of the rarest coins ever made trace their lineage back to Denver's coining presses. So when collectors whisper about the 2016 D cent's potential, they're not just chasing hype. They're following a historical pattern. But what makes this coin so elusive isn't merely the rarity of its error. It's the difficulty of identification. Modern minting errors can be subtle, almost imperceptible. Even experienced graders rely on magnification, comparison, and deep familiarity with die characteristics to distinguish true varieties from post-mint damage. A genuine 2016 D error coin will often exhibit clean, raised doubling, not flat or smeared. Sharp, unbroken mint luster. Consistent metal flow lines visible under 5x magnification. In contrast, coins damaged after leaving the mint, bent, stamped, or corroded, might appear similar to the untrained eye but hold no collector value. That's where expertise meets intuition. The seasoned numismatist can feel authenticity, the weight, the tone, even the rhythm of light across the coin's surface. It's almost like reading a fingerprint. So, is every 2016 D Lincoln cent a hidden jackpot? No. And that's what makes the search so addictive. For every genuine variety, there are millions of near-identical imposters, everyday cents worth exactly 1 cent. But in that ocean of sameness, the possibility of discovering the one coin that breaks the pattern, that's the spark that drives collectors forward. It's the same thrill gold prospectors felt panning rivers in the 1800s. Hope in every handful of sand. There's another layer to this story, one that goes beyond profit, preservation. True collectors understand that a rare coin's real power lies in what it represents, a bridge between America's industrial artistry and its evolving economy. The Lincoln 1 cent series, introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, is the longest-running coin design in U.S. history. Each iteration, each subtle design tweak or mint mark, tells part of the American story, from wartime steel compositions to modern copper-plated zinc. By 2016, few could have imagined that this humble denomination, often dismissed, even phased out in some discussions of modern currency reform, would once again captivate the nation's imagination. It's almost poetic. In an age when pennies are often ignored, one of them has become a symbol of immense value. Pause for a moment. What if your legacy, your children's inheritance, isn't locked in stocks or digital accounts, but hidden among the coins you've collected over decades? Many of today's most valuable modern coins weren't bought at auctions. They were found by ordinary people who took the time to look closer. That's the quiet magic of numismatics, wealth discovered through patience, not speculation. And here's a sobering truth. As technology advances, human error in minting becomes rarer each year. Modern quality control systems make accidental varieties increasingly unlikely, which means the age of spontaneous mint errors may be fading, and coins like the 2016 D Lincoln cent could be the last of their kind. Collectors know this. That's why the market doesn't just price these coins by rarity, but by potential historical finality. When the mint eventually perfects its machines beyond failure, imperfection itself will become extinct. So, what should you do if you think you've found one of these coins? Handle it carefully. Never polish, never clean. Place it in a soft plastic flip or an inert holder. And before sending it to any grading service, document everything. Photos, scale weight, magnified images. Then, seek out a trusted numismatist or third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC for professional verification. Remember, authenticity isn't proven by excitement, it's proven by evidence. In the end, the story of the 2016 D Lincoln 1 cent coin isn't just about a lucky find. It's a reminder that value often hides in the overlooked, that even the smallest artifacts of our daily lives, the coins we dismiss, the change we forget, can hold unimaginable worth when viewed through the lens of history, curiosity, and human ingenuity, and maybe that's the real treasure. Not just the possibility of a $349,000 payday, but the awakening it sparks, the realization that every piece of metal stamped with our nation's heritage carries a fragment of America's story, and perhaps of yours. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or glance at that dusty jar of spare coins, take a second look. Because somewhere among the ordinary and the ignored, a single Abraham Lincoln 1 cent coin from the Denver Mint might be waiting, quietly, patiently, to rewrite your story. And when it finally finds you, you'll understand it was never just about the money. It was about discovering that even the humblest things can hold extraordinary secrets, if you only care enough to look. It began as an ordinary morning in Denver. A man stood at a gas station counter handing over a few coins to pay for coffee. Among them, something small, copper red, and unremarkable. A 2017 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin, stamped with a humble D beneath the date. The cashier dropped it into the till, unaware that he had just exchanged what could one day be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? How could a coin that once jingled in your pocket, barely enough to buy a gumball, be worth the price of a luxury home? Yet, in the strange, fascinating world of numismatics, that's exactly what has happened. The 2017 Denver Mint Lincoln 1-cent coin has recently sent shockwaves through the collector's world. One example, authenticated and graded by experts, reportedly fetched an astonishing market value of $341,000. But the real story isn't just about a number on a check. It's about why certain coins, seemingly mundane pieces of metal, can transcend their face value to become symbols of rarity, legacy, and hidden wealth. Let's peel back the layers of this remarkable story. In 2017, the United States Mint in Denver struck over 4 billion Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coins. Mass-produced, common, disposable. They were never meant to be rare. And that's where the mystery deepens, because buried among those billions were a handful, perhaps just a few dozen, whose microscopic differences would change everything. Coins that bear subtle die errors, unexpected double strikes, or faint misalignments invisible to the untrained eye. To the average spender, they're just pocket change. But to the collector, they represent a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly, a fingerprint of imperfection stamped into history itself. That's the quiet magic of minting. When a die, a hardened steel tool used to strike coins, develops a flaw, the tiniest blemish can alter everything. A doubled D, a misplaced letter, a faint doubling in Lincoln's eye or shoulder. Each one transforms an otherwise worthless cent into a numismatic masterpiece. And so, the story of the 2017 D Lincoln 1 cent is not a tale of production, it's a tale of survival. Imagine this: a single flawed die, striking thousands of coins before being replaced. Those coins scatter across the nation, lost in circulation, tossed into tip jars, dropped between car seats. Years later, a collector sifts through a jar of change, notices something off, a strange shimmer under light, a doubled edge on Lincoln's profile, and stops breathing for just a moment. That's the heartbeat of discovery. That's the reason collectors never stop searching, because every time you flip a coin in your palm, you're not just holding metal, you're holding potential. Why does this fascination endure? Why, in a world of digital currency and crypto speculation, do people still chase after 1-cent pieces from the Denver Mint? Because coins are the last tangible storytellers of America's evolution. Each one carries the echo of a year, the politics, the economy, the faces we choose to honor. In 2017, the U.S. Mint still struck Lincoln's familiar image, unchanged for decades. It's a quiet reminder that even in our era of rapid innovation, some traditions refuse to fade. And perhaps that's what makes these rare coins so powerful. They bridge time. They let us touch history with our fingertips. But back to our mysterious cent. What makes this particular 2017 D coin worth $341,000? Collectors point to a combination of rarity, condition, and error variety. A near-perfect grade, preserved before circulation, a sharply defined mint mark, and in some cases, an extraordinary die misalignment or double die obverse so clear it feels almost deliberate. When these elements converge, a simple cent transforms into a high-stakes collectible. Auction houses call them conditional rarities, not because they're unique in design, but because they survived time and circumstance in flawless form. There's also the human element, what collectors call emotional value inflation. That's when a coin transcends logic and becomes a story people want to own. A story of discovery, chance, and reward, and that emotional resonance. It's priceless. But here's where it gets fascinating. Even though only 1 or 2 known examples have sold for 6 figures, the idea of the $341,000 penny has fueled a new wave of treasure hunters. Ordinary Americans are emptying their coin jars, magnifying glasses in hand, scanning for imperfections. Some scoff, calling it wishful thinking. Others call it destiny. You see, the numismatic market is not just about money. It's about meaning. The thrill of finding something extraordinary hidden in the ordinary. And in times of economic uncertainty, when the value of digital investments can vanish overnight, tangible assets like rare coins feel reassuring. A collector once told me, "I don't just invest in coins, I invest in stories that never lose their luster." And he was right. Midway through our journey, let's pause for a question. When was the last time you really looked at the coins in your hand? Most people glance, count, and move on. But those who pause, those who look closer, often see what others miss. That's not just a metaphor for collecting. It's a metaphor for wealth itself. Because in numismatics, as in life, value hides where attention rarely lingers. Historically, the market for Lincoln 1-cent coins has seen dramatic swings. From the 1909 SVDB to the 1955 double die obverse, certain issues have become cultural legends. Each began as pocket change. Each now commands thousands, even millions. And every new generation of collectors wonders, which year will be next? The 2017 D is the modern echo of that tradition, a bridge between the past's great rarities and today's digital age. A reminder that fortune doesn't always live in grand gestures. It can hide in your change drawer. The psychology behind this phenomenon is just as fascinating as the coins themselves. Collectors are driven by a blend of curiosity and conquest. They crave the sensation of discovery, the same primal reward that explorers once felt when finding uncharted lands. And unlike stocks or bonds, coins are physical, tangible, eternal. They can be held, displayed, passed down through generations. That's where legacy enters the picture. A rare coin is more than an investment. It's an heirloom. A silent companion through decades, its value deepening as the world around it changes. A grandfather's find can become a granddaughter's inheritance, carrying not just wealth, but wonder. And yet, there's still that lingering question. How many of these 2017 D Lincoln 1-cent coins are still out there? No one truly knows. The U.S. Mint doesn't track error coins, and most of these treasures vanish into circulation unnoticed. Perhaps a few rest in piggy banks or coffee cans waiting to be rediscovered. Perhaps one sits right now in your pocket. It's this uncertainty, the what if, that keeps the community alive. Collectors don't chase guarantees. They chase possibilities. And in that pursuit, the line between hobby and obsession often blurs. One expert from a major grading service once said, "The greatest coin discoveries happen not in museums, but in junk drawers." That might sound like humor, but it's also truth. Because every generation has its surprise, a modern coin that defies expectations and rewrites market values. The 2017 D is today's surprise. But it won't be the last. So when someone claims a coin like this is worth $341,000, what they're really saying is, this is the price of rarity meeting perfect timing. The price of curiosity rewarded. The price of history rediscovered. Think about this. In 1909, when the first Lincoln 1-cent coin was minted, few Americans thought it would one day become the most collected coin in U.S. history. But over time, as designs shifted and mints closed, patterns emerged. Collectors realized that scarcity isn't always about age, it's about anomaly, and anomalies don't announce themselves. They wait, silently, for someone perceptive enough to notice. That's what separates casual hobbyists from true numismatists. The ability to see value before the world agrees it's valuable. So if you're holding a handful of coins tonight, turn them over one by one. Look for the small D beneath the date 2017. Study the edges, the letters, the way the light catches Lincoln's jawline. Because that's where the secrets live. In the minute, in the overlooked, in the spaces most people never examine. Will yours be one of the rare survivors? Will your coin's imperfections become your greatest fortune? Only time and attention will tell. The story of the 2017 D Lincoln 1-cent coin is more than a headline or a lucky sale. It's a reflection of something timeless in us. The hunger to uncover what others miss. the hope that a small discovery might change everything, and the belief that true value often hides in plain sight. So yes, a coin once worth a single cent has crossed into six-figure territory. But its real worth lies in what it represents: curiosity rewarded, history preserved, and the endless chase for the extraordinary within the ordinary. Because in the end, the most valuable coin isn't just the one worth $341,000. It's the one that reignites your sense of wonder and reminds you that even the smallest things can hold the greatest treasures.